Good afternoon. My name is Michael Randolph, and I work with the Center for Nonprofit and Community Development. And what we do is specialize in transforming high crime infested, high crime infested, high drug, high poverty stricken communities and communities, black communities throughout the nation. I want to read a letter to you from a mother in a city somewhere in the United States. Dear Mr. Randolph, my son was killed last night. 17. Somebody took his tennis shoes. I heard it was another teenager that killed him. 2 months ago, my nephew, who's also a teenager, killed another teenager because the teenager said his hair was nappy. Mr. Randolph, in my neighborhood, killing has become a way of life. That's not all, though. See, in my neighborhood, we have issues with those who sell drugs, those who use drugs. We have family dysfunction, community dysfunction, mental health, youth problems. The youth don't even respect the seniors. Mr. Randolph, we have all kind of problems in our neighborhood. You know, Mr. Randolph, they say in the street, poor people are big business. And poor people bear the bulk of the pain. Mr. Randolph, we feel helpless. I was talking last week with some other people in the community, and they said no matter what, we think that people on the outside decide what won't happen, and what's a priority. Mr. Randolph, we feel like second class citizens. Sir, we need your help. Mothers like this throughout the United States, as well as fathers, nieces, and friends, feel like they don't have a voice. My name is Michael Randolph, and my response to that letter is what we're going to talk about today. We give voice to the voiceless. We do this by empowering poor communities. We move a community from feeling like they outside of the power table to creating a table that's resident driven, power model that put the community in the driver's seat. What does power look like? Old school. Old school power reflects the following. Normally, these people are 40 to 65 years of age. They are above average in income, above average in education. Keep in mind, they are plotting and planning for poor communities that have poor education. They consist of business and professional occupants. They tend to be long-term residents who might or might not have the community best interest. These entities that control do not reflect the culture of the population. They control they control key resources in the community. They're in some cases they're located in the neighborhood, but they control elsewhere. Or they could be outside the community and have no ownership in the community, but yet have an impact in the community. Let's talk about how we change this. How do we create a situation where residents in poor communities create their own table of change? New school. What does power look like? Power is the ability to have something that somebody wants and is willing to give something for it of value. So using capital now example, we're going to talk about the different types of capital in terms of the value that you possess that the different players want to be a part of. So let's start with the different types of capital, starting with social capital. What does social capital consist of? Well, it consists of networks, partners, and collaboratives that include the following: institutions of higher learning, healthcare providers and hospitals, faith-based communities, other nonprofit, specialized interest groups. Financial capital consists of banks, lenders, investors, and other financial institutions and entities. Social capital also includes community wealth. Financial capital also includes community wealth. Political capital include the government itself, its agencies, its committees, etc. The ability to influence them. Cultural capital consists of an understanding of the lifestyle of the community, the values and the benefits, the beliefs of that neighborhood. Human capital is the ability to have the expert on board to make it happen, be it staff, consultant, advisors, or somebody that has the capacity to work with to make the deal work. Staff, consultant, or some type of expertise. The strategic plan, which is the center of everything, includes the community plan related to its theory of change, the resources that's needed, its strategic approach, and its model to change, which is framed around what's known as a community comprehensive initiative model. We'll talk about that later. Community empowerment is the ability to use capital as a power force to create, control, design, and implement a community vision. The tools to empowerment include critical thinkers and strategic planners. What does it look like? What does power really look like? My name is Michael Randolph, and I was born in Baltimore City in the West Side in a community called Sandtown, Winchester. It was and continues to be one of the most violent neighborhoods in the nation. My brother was killed in the streets. My mother was shot while she was trying to protect my nephew. Fortunately, she didn't get killed. She was trying to protect my nephew from a gang war. I've lost so many friends in the streets. I've seen so many lives destroyed because of this thing called systemic racism, institutional racism, structural racism. I've seen the impact it has had on poor communities up front. All that changed for me in 1990 when I became part of an initiative to transform poor communities. The first initiative to begin to look at transforming community using what is and now known as the community comprehensive approach started in Baltimore in 1990 by then Jim Rouse. He created what was then known as community building and partnership, was built upon an idea of how do you transform communities using a comprehensive and holistic approach to rebuilding poor communities. Mr. Rouse brought in experts from around the country to figure this plan out, including Harvard, Yale, Princeton. People from around the world came in to see how do you transform the poorest of the poorest of the community. That plan that was put together was later transformed into what we know today as the Federal Empowerment Zone. Bill Clinton, who was then president, was so impressed with Mr. Rouse and that strategy that he put together that he used it as a federal model. Using this background on what works in neighborhoods and based on 20 years of experience, when I left Sandtown to come to Tampa, I came with a mission. Could the strategy that we use in Baltimore apply elsewhere? And what are the lessons learned to make it even better 10 years later? from information that has been gathered on what works. When I came to West Tampa, I was brought on to create a strategy that would lead the community to power, more power, that would lead the community to transforming itself. The whole purpose was for me to work with the community and the West Tampa CDC to come up with a plan of power in which the community controlled the power. And we did. We created what was known as the 5-year strategic plan. The plan was important because it was created from a bottom-up perspective. The West Tampa hired its own expert, which is me, to put together the plan in unity with the community. And then to present the plan and get the buy-in from the different types of capital, political, financial, etc. This happened on June the 4th, when the world was presented with the West Tampa plan. And the plan was awesome in that it brought national folks, state, it brought investors, institutions of higher learning, all those different types of capital that we talked about earlier in terms of part of the power structure or capital came out to that meeting. We, in creating the 5-year plan, created the value that brought the capital out. How does it look? Well, the West Tampa plan, and we call it the West Tampa CDC initiative, is a multidimensional, comprehensive, integrated, place-based, and holistic approach to community revitalization that synthesizes 3 disciplines: community organizing, neighborhood planning, and economic development into a single methodology for community revitalization. Under this approach, and we call it the bottom-up approach, the community has the power. The community consists of residents, civic groups in the community. They come up and working in conjunction with the West Tampa CDC with the plan for the future, the way they want that community to look. The West Tampa CDC role then is to bring about the strategic partners necessary to bring about that change, including nonprofits, government, the private sector, institutions of higher learning, and others. From this comes the strategy, and it's a 3-part strategy. The strategy includes economic development, and economic development includes placing the worst and the hardest place in the community with jobs. It includes job training and job creation for jobs in general as well. It includes creating neighborhood wealth It includes creating community wealth. It also includes creating individual wealth. It also looks at improving the quality of businesses that's in the community that is selling low-grade food and items to residents. That's the economic development approach. The major approach is building wealth. The second approach is social development, and social development focuses on people. And on focus on people, we focus on health, substance abuse, mental health, healthy lifestyles, public safety issues, education from the perspective of school to prison changes. We focus on building community unity, where community work collectively in order to bring about the change in the neighborhood. And also on the social development brings about strong families. And we use a multi-generational approach that includes how do we address the issues for baby boomers, generation X, Y, Z. Physical, and also on the social development is public safety. Create an environment where people feel safe in their communities and where people have alternatives to committing crime. And finally, physical development deals with affordable housing and different types of affordable housing. This becomes the holistic approach to how do you build and control poor, what goes on in poor communities. We provide ongoing services to organizations that want to build their capacities. To date, we've provided technical support to over 2,500 nonprofits, government agencies, faith-based groups, individuals, and others. To date, we have assisted over 350 nonprofits and businesses to get started nationally. Our training include CEO training, board training, business plan, critical thinking, and technology, deal making, and including how to work with investors, government, as well as lenders. Capacity building and organizational development, community comprehensive planning, theory of change and logic model. Now keep in mind before I go to the rest of the training, this type of training I'm talking about has been blocked from poor communities. And only those who are connected to the power structure or institutions of higher learning are afforded these strategies on empowerment. The other thing we do is program development and evaluation, community mobilization for purpose and buy-in, wealth building, wealth building and financial management, strategic and tactical planning, network and collaborations, building power, social enterprise. All right, so I think we're coming up on the next slide. And this slide right here just gives some more information about what we do. Please visit our website to learn about more things that we do. And you can connect with us by way of Gmail, LinkedIn, Facebook, or by way of our webpage. In closing, in neighborhoods throughout the country, things are not fair. Violence in our neighborhood, people don't know what to do. Senselessness, killing. Everybody's coming in saying what to do, but it's the same old, same old. It's time that we use a bottom up approach. I call it a hood approach to rebuilding poor communities. See, unless we give the power to the community, our neighborhoods will continue to look exactly like they look now. So please connect with us.